All right, great. Hey, thanks for joining us for another live Keeping It Real. Today, I'm really feeling honored and just blessed to have Lisa Chinatti on the Keeping It Real today. And she was a past guest last year, and she actually did 8 deals in 2015. And last year, her goal was to do 250 transactions. But what she ended up doing was a little over 2 million gross GCI last year. So she just crushed it. And her goal this year is to do 5 million GCI. So she's really amazing. We're going to introduce her and bring her on in a minute. But my co-host is Frank Klesitz. He's a CEO with Viral Marketing. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Jeff Manson, and I am the founder and CEO of Real Geeks, and also a Hawaii real estate broker and California broker. So we're going to kick this off, but first Frank is going to give you a little bit of housekeeping news and how to follow us if this is the first time watching.
Cool. Well, Jeff, we're back.
We're back.
It's been a while.
It's been a little while. We're back for the new season. We're gonna we got 10 of these planned in a row every 3 weeks. So we're gonna kick them out 10 in a row, boom, 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 every 3 weeks. And we got one of the best guests we've ever had, Lisa, on here. So everybody better get their pencils and paper ready because she's gonna be sharing a lot of details. And obviously these are recorded, but go ahead and tell them how they can watch the recordings and the podcast and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so the best place everyone to go is keepingitreal.com. All the shows are up on there, plus the really cool ones where Jeff flew out with a whole crew to go interview some certain offices beyond just the hangouts that we do here. So go check that out. So keepingitreal.com. You can also subscribe with your email address on there, and we will only send you updates about Keeping It Real. That's it. You don't get any other email when you go to the website to that. On top of that, we're also on iTunes, so you can subscribe and actually watch on iTunes. Is it video or audio? It's the video on iTunes, right, Jeff?
On iTunes? No, it's audio.
We strip the audio out, so it's on iTunes. We strip
the video out, and it's only audio, so they can listen to it iTunes on their. It's a podcast.
Perfect. Okay, so we got the audio on iTunes, and then also obviously on the Real Geeks Facebook page and the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and the YouTube channel, and what else are we missing? Oh, and also every episode is posted on the Real Geeks blog as well with timestamps.
Yep.
And also the keepingitreal.com website, we actually have a cool search on there. They can go in and type FSBO, expired, Facebook marketing, and we've transcribed every one of the episodes. So whatever they're interested in, they can go type that in, and it will pull up a list of whatever episodes had those words in it.
Great.
So it's pretty amazing. So, hey, Lisa. How you doing?
Hey, good, guys.
We're so happy to have you back on. A lot has changed since the last time we were talking. I think when we had this last year, you were at 150 year to date, and you were shooting for 250. How many actual transactions did you end up doing, and then the total gross commissions?
We did 212 units and 2.02 million.
All right, so a little bit less units, but more money. So that's even better. Is that your phone going crazy?
I don't know how to stop it.
It's all this business coming in.
That's all right.
I have no idea how to stop it. None.
It's okay. Just all you got to do is just go into your Gmail and exit out of it, or else they'll keep calling.
That's all right. Oh, is that her G phone or whatever?
It's her Gmail's open when someone's calling her.
Oh, okay. Just don't close out the video.
Yeah, don't close that one.
Like I said, we're really excited to have you on. You're really inspiring, and you're amazing, and you're just crushing it, and you're going to crush it this year with the goal of 5 million. What I'd like to do is, our last episode, we dove in pretty deep each year, how you progressed and how you were able to progress. So maybe you can condense that down, just a quick overview of, how you got from 8 to 2 million, quickly. We're not going to go in real deep, just an overview, and then we're going to dive into all your lead sources and how you follow up with them and all that good stuff.
Okay, perfect. All right. So 2015, I was a solo agent. I had some changes in my circumstances with my brokerage, and I decided that I wanted to go full time and actually build a business as opposed to just being an agent. So I had a mindset change. That was my biggest thing, was a mindset change. And at that point, I decided that I needed to set some goals, and I did, and realized very quickly that real estate is math in a lot of ways, so I could work backwards. And I set a goal in 2016, I wanted to sell 30-ish homes. And, that would be a respectable business.
Yes.
But I killed it. And I guess I very quickly figured out that real estate is math. And if I could keep it going, it became insanely scalable. So I hit 82 homes in 2016.
Wow.
And then in 2017, decided that the next way to build it out and to be able to get my business to the next level was to build a team. So I started my team in October of 2016, and then we hit our first unit of production for the team in January of 2017. And I think, listening and learning and ripping off from other people and copying what they do, I was able to build a pretty awesome team. And we grew pretty fast, and they are just a great group. So we ended up killing it last year and did over 200 units. And
God, in 2 years, 2.5 years.
It's amazing, right? From
2.5 years.
like 8 deals, part-time, full-time mom, in 2 years, building a team, and then getting up to 2 million GCI and gonna shoot for 5 million this year. That's just amazing.
It's a huge jump to 5 million. I'm excited to hear the plan.
5 million is going to be a stretch. No lie. 5 million will be a stretch. And I'm a little bit behind. I'm blaming the weather, but I have some plans to hopefully catch up and turn it around.
It's it's warming up. So, soon. I know not where you are, but where I'm at, it's 76 degrees. So I'm kind of excited that it's been warming up. Why don't we, so the name of the episode is how Lisa is going to leverage her CRM to do 5 million GCI, right? Whether she hits 4.5 or 5 million or 5.5. Everyone wants to know, and everyone in the Real Geeks Facebook mastermind group is always asking Lisa, how do you do this? How do you do that? So what I want to do is dive in, find out, kind of her percentage buyers, sellers, and then go on down and see what each lead source is. And then back up for each lead source, find out how you generate those leads, or how do you secure them. And then how do you work those leads? Because not everybody's buying right away or selling right away. What is the systems and processes you're doing in great detail on each one of those? And I know a big part of it is using the Real Geeks CRM. How long have you been with Real Geeks? Like 2 years now?
I think we're at almost 3.
Almost
I think it was
3 years.
I think it was 2 years when we met in August, and so I think we're coming up on 3 years now.
So almost the whole life of when you actually started to decide, like, hey, I'm going to take it to the next level.
Not almost. It totally was. Really, I think one of the first decisions that I made. Looking at what would be scalable, even that was before the team was even a thought, which is fascinating and amazing that it's been able to grow with me as the team has grown. So.
All right, awesome. So what percentage is buyers and what percentage is sellers?
So we finished last year, and I think we finished at about 60% buyer and 40% seller. So I'd still like to work on getting a little bit of a better balance, but for first real year, that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. It'd probably be better to try and go 60-40 and flip it.
Yeah.
So you can control more of the market. But 60-40, what, 2 million GCI is, you can't complain about that any day of the week.
Nope.
So what are the lead sources that you actually work, or that are income producing for you?
So our big ones would be Facebook ads, pay-per-click ads, Zillow. I have a pretty big farm. We use our agents' SOIs, and then some past client networking and stuff is still probably one of my weakest sources that I need to work on.
So basically, it's internet, Facebook leads, Zillow ads coming into your Real Geek CRM. Your agents on your team, COI, and then your past clients and their past clients, and the mailings.
Correct. Those are our main ones. Yep.
The main ones. Okay. All right. So why don't we start with the internet, Facebook leads, and then we'll roll into Zillow, and then we'll roll into COI past clients, and then mailings, and then you can share some of your mailings towards the end there.
Okay. Fair.
Okay. So on the internet leads, the Facebook leads, how are you doing that? I know your husband Steve kind of heads that up and runs that for you, but can you share with them what he's doing?
So it's actually more, it's a team effort now. my operations manager is kind of manages the company and, manages some of that stuff. So our strategy is that for Facebook ads, we divided into buyer ads and seller ads. And different strategies depending on whether we're targeting buyers or sellers. And it all kind of ties in with leveraging our ability to take the business that we have and continue to grow more business off of it on the buyer side, right? So on our Facebook ads, we're running ads for coming soons. We're running when we sign a listing contract. We're running ads the moment we list a new property. We're running ads for our open houses. And then we switch it when the listing closes to generate seller leads.
Okay. So you're generating both from Facebook leads.
Correct.
Okay. And then what would you say to those people that say, oh, well, Facebook leads are not ready, this or that? I mean, you guys you're converting a good portion of those, correct?
Yeah. So we just ran the numbers, and it took us a while to figure out the secret sauce to it, I think. And when we just ran the numbers at the end of February, we crossed 1.4% conversion, or maybe that was March 15th. We hit 1.4% conversion. So I know a lot of people think that that's low, and it kind of is compared to where we convert different lead sources, but that's still pretty awesome, especially given the lower cost per lead to get to that level of conversion. It's profitable.
So 1.4%, and then it's probably growing as time goes on because you're incubating them and they're going in your database and you're following up with them. What is the cost per lead? Do you know what that is?
It's averaging between $5 and $7 per lead.
$5 to $7 per lead. Okay. And when you're including that 1.4% conversion, that's also seller conversions too, right?
Yes. Yep.
What percentage do you know? I know you're a numbers person, so I'm going to ask a lot of numbers. And I know you know the importance of knowing your numbers. What percentage of the Facebook are sellers versus buyers, or is it kind of 50-50, 60-40?
As they come in for leads?
Yeah. I mean, that you are converting from Facebook. Are they more buyers or more sellers, or kind of even?
Definitely still converting more buyers than sellers on that, but it's because I'm able to generate probably 3 times the number of buyer leads versus seller leads, and I think it's just part of me figuring out the strategy to get the biggest number of leads coming in and looking at how I run the ads. Right on the buyer lead side, I'm running the coming soon, the just listed, and the open house off of one listing. But on the seller side, I'm still really kind of only figuring it out with the just sold.
So you're running 3 times as many buyer ads, versus sellers. So that makes sense. But yet you're doing 60% and 40% still sellers. So that's still a pretty good percentage.
Yeah.
So when those leads come in, I mean, you're working them and some of your agents, or how does that look? Let's dive into like how are we following up? Because I know people want to know, what's she doing? Because I know last time you said you follow up with them till they either list or buy or die.
Right. Yes. True. Buy or die. So on the Facebook ads, all of the buyer ads for Facebook actually come in and go directly to an ISA, inside sales agent, who sits in house, and her job is simply to follow up with those Facebook leads. The seller ones come to me first, and I do need to change that. I'd rather them go to an ISA at some point as well. And so the hit is pretty much the same as we do for any other internet lead, but understanding that the time to nurture. So it was interesting. I think we talked about this on the last interview, but my first Facebook lead that ever came in, we did convert it, but it took me 12 months to get an appointment. And then after that first appointment, it still took me 2 months to get a contract signed. So I think as we've figured out that that's pretty much the norm, we're understanding how to nurture them a little bit more, and understanding, the average person who's on Facebook, what are they on Facebook for? They're on there to look at pictures of your kids and my kids. And I'm putting a picture of a pretty house in front of them. They're not there looking at real estate specifically, though it's probably in the back of their mind that they're thinking about, there's something of interest that makes them click through, right? So they're maybe not ready to buy in 60 days, 90 days, but they're probably 12 to 24 months is probably entering into their thought process. So the biggest thing with them that we're finding is not necessarily speed to lead, although it's still important, and I will never change that with my team, but making sure that we're staying in top of mind and consistently touching them and adding value and creating urgency at the right time period.
Right. So how are you doing that? Because so that comes into your ISA, they qualify them. If let's say they're not ready, and how does that look? Once they find a person that's going to buy, let's say in the next 30 to 90 days, do they pass them over to one of your team members?
Yeah, so the ISA, I think if you go back a little bit further, right? So the ISA gets the lead, and assume the buyer's probably 12 months out. Like I'm just looking, I'm not, I'm not interested, I'm not ready to do anything. What the ISA is doing is setting them up on property alerts through Geeks, right? And helping the client refine their search criteria. So do they think that they'd be looking at a single family, or do they think that they'd be looking at a condo?
Sure.
What do they think their price range is? Getting the basic search criteria set up. And then it's still pretty consistent touches, right? And giving them nurture, but also becoming an expert. That's what we train all of our agents and our ISAs to do, is become the expert, right? What value can they add throughout the process that makes that consumer want to keep coming back to us or picking up our phone calls? So whether it's providing expert level information about the neighborhoods that the client is looking at, or expert level of advice about, mortgage rates stand, which is such a hot topic right now. That's what we're using to build urgency, right? Or being the expert who provides resources. Can we connect you with a loan officer? Can we connect you with another industry professional who can give you the information to help you get to the next step, right? So that's kind of how we're building the relationship early on.
Okay.
And then the ISA's job is to connect that consumer with a loan officer and work with the consumer and the loan officer until the client gets pre-approved. And sometimes that process can take 3 to 6 months, right? It's possible that the client comes in and isn't quite qualified right away. And where an agent could easily say, that's a lot of work, and lose track of it when we're giving them so many leads. That's why we have the ISA, that connection, keep that rapport going and build the relationship. And then when the client is fully pre-approved and we've narrowed down their search criteria and we know that they're pretty much ready to go, that's when the ISA is taking that Facebook buyer and handing it over to the agent, keeping a connection and sending the agent out in the field to get a contract.
All right. So we know some that are, 6 months out, 12 months out, year and a half out. What about the ones that are like ready to go now because you happen to do an ad and they saw that and they're ready to go and the ISA flushes that out? Is it the same process and then just a shorter, or do they get them over to an agent sooner?
It really depends on the client. So the ISA's goal is to make sure that when that handover happens to the agent, that the client is pre-approved and has a pretty good idea of what they're looking at. So if the agent doesn't get the pre-approval, we're not going to make the handover, right?
Sure.
If we know that client is fully pre-approved, that's usually the sign that they're ready to go, and the handover happens at that point.
Okay, I'm gonna back up to the longer term. So if it's 12 months, 6 months to 12 months, or let's say 3 months to 9 months.
Yep.
What is that ISA doing for follow-up? I mean, I know they're putting them on the drip, and then how frequently are they following up with them? Are they following up based on user activity, the live feed within Real Geeks? I mean, how does that look?
It really depends upon each client and kind of really where the dialogue is going early on in the conversation. So we're leveraging a lot. So we're definitely setting up the safe search and looking at user activity.
Sure.
Definitely leveraging drips and how the consumer is interacting with the drips. So we've set up some pages where the drip clicks to something like a buyer cost estimation worksheet, right? Which is kind of fluff. It's not insanely valuable, but it gives us clues to where the consumer's mindset is, right? Are they thinking that if somebody's looking at closing costs, they've moved on from just looking at pretty houses to thinking about actually making the purchase, right?
Okay.
So that's the ISA some extra info and potentially changing the follow-up course. If a consumer has looked at the same property 3-4 times in a row, that's another cue that there's a mindset change happening with the consumer, and we change the follow-up course a little bit.
All right. And are you using the automated texts and also the workflow email drips and task drips within Real Geeks, or are you using a third-party source?
So we use Infusionsoft for some stuff. We use some stuff within Real Geeks, and I don't use any automated drips, believe it or not. We don't use any automated texts. So There's some like templates that they've set up in Real Geeks, so they can just push the button and the template.
Sure. Right. So they do it one-offs.
Yes.
Based on what's happened in the user behavior.
Right. Or whatever.
I think that's better.
Or whatever note the agent has made or the ISA has made. Like, so one of the things that we always want the agent and the ISA doing are, making notes in Real Geeks. There's like that important notes section at the top.
Yeah, that's very important at the top. That's what we have at the top. Hello.
The agent or the ISA is putting in notes about, what is the personality type of the buyer? Are we looking at a driver, an expressive, an amiable, or an analytical? And when they're touching too many leads, it's important for them to be able to have that information really quickly and decide what kind of information they're going to send out to the client to prove that there's value and that they're the experts in what they do.
Amazing. All right, cool. So I think we probably hit enough on that. What about the Zillow? So I know you're getting listings and you're probably leveraging Zillow. Are you buying zip codes for Zillow as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And then how does that work? So it's basically someone inquiring about a property. So they're probably a little bit farther down in the same thing as the ones on Real Geeks. Once they've been on there a while, they're looking at properties, they start sending in email inquiries, and I'm sure your ISA is all over those right away. What about the Zillow ones? Do you have those going directly into the Real Geeks for the ISA?
Well, they go directly into Real Geeks, but so those are going directly to our agent instead of going to the ISA. And the reason is that we're kind of understanding that the typical Zillow buyer, we convert ridiculous. We converted at about 11% of our Zillow leads, which is insane, right? And so we're kind of understanding that the average Zillow lead is converting in 30 to 90 days in general, not 100%, but in general, they're a much quicker lead source than Facebook or pay-per-click ads.
Sure.
So those are going direct to the agents who have a little bit of a different follow-up technique. So we divide our agents for Zillow leads in particular, they're in 3-hour shifts. So 8 to 11, 11 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 8. In that time period, the agent is expected to be in front of a computer and ready to answer calls within 5 minutes. And really, we'd love to see them within 3 minutes because speed to lead is huge.
Sure.
And understanding that most of those people have clicked on more than one property, right?
Yes.
The consumer is clicking on 2, 3, and it's the same thing with like pay-per-click stuff. They're clicking on not just us. So what we like to have them do is be in front of their computer, have their phone ready, and then the moment the lead comes in, they're picking up the phone and they're calling. And if the consumer doesn't answer, they're hanging up and they're calling right back. And if the consumer doesn't answer, they're hanging up and calling right back and trying 3 times in a row in order to get the consumer to answer. There were a lot of great stats that the first call, the percentage of chances of the consumer answering are about 12%. By the second time, we get up to about 40, 45%. And by the third time, we've built kind of a sense of urgency. So we get about an 80% answer rate on that third call, right?
So you're doing it 3 times. I know some people are doing if they don't get them, they hang up, wait a few seconds, call back. You're actually doing it 3 times.
Right. We war dial 3 times. Yep.
Nice.
Hey, what's your cost per lead on Zillow?
The average is around $90 to $100 per lead. So I tell my agents, and I was doing a training this morning, and I said the same thing. Like every time I give them a Zillow lead, I'm basically handing them $100 bill. So I take it pretty seriously.
Your backlash on the free calls if someone says, "Why are you calling me? What's so urgent?"
No, we've never gotten that. That's the crazy part, and that's the part. Like that's the first objection
on that. So I wanted to inject that.
We don't get that. Like none of the agents have ever said that. Like they've picked up and somebody's been mad. It's actually the opposite. They're like, "Wow, that's great. I'm glad you kept trying to call me." It's funny. It's fascinating.
And if they did get a little bit like, what are you calling so? I don't know. The call's dropping. But by the way, you inquired about a property on Zillow, and I'm here to help.
Right. Yes, exactly. So, and if by chance that the consumer doesn't answer after that third call, they're still not even leaving a voicemail. What we're hoping that they do, and what we're expecting that they do, is that they go in, set up the saved search through Real Geeks, get that all set up, send the MLS listing sheet with a note that says, "Saw you inquired about 123 Main Street," forwarding you the MLS sheet so that you have all of the information. I'm going to follow up with you again in a couple of hours. Should you have any other questions, I'd love to connect. And here's my contact info, right?
What kind of response are they getting from that?
None.
None. Okay. At least we're keeping it real. Great. But we're still trying.
We still try, absolutely. And then later that day, we expect that they call back again. So you'll also hear, like, as we walk around the office, you know, and my agents will tell you what counts as a touch. I don't count email as a touch. So if you tell me that you sent an email, I'm going to say, great, but what else did you do? The open rates have gone down so much, even over the past like 12 months, that we can't count emails as a touch. Not a quality.
No. It's got to be a contact or a text.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So then they should text, and if they don't get the consumer by 7 p.m. or so, I'm okay if they leave a voicemail. And we still do the 10 days of pain is key, right?
So you are doing a drip with like a 10 days of pain through email drip.
Our email drips are about 2 years long.
Right, but the 10 days. So with the 10 days of pain, you mean the phone calls?
Yeah,
and
phone messages. Yeah, and that's just what we call it for our agents, because we want the agents fully committed to the leads for the first 10 to 12 days, and then if the agent can't get the consumer within that 10 to 12 days, then we're going to move it over to the ISA and let the ISA kind of put a longer term nurture.
So the 10 days, so they call like relentlessly through the first day, and then the next 10 days, how often do they call?
I'm hoping twice a day at the very least. I'm hoping twice a day.
So twice a day for 10 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and throwing in some text messages as well, right?
Sure.
And that's where we can leverage the texting from within Real Geeks so that we know what's happening, and we track from within there. You know, Jason, my sales manager, and I are looking at this stuff on a daily and weekly basis, because that's where the money is for the agents and how we make sure the team stays profitable.
They always say the money's in the follow-up, and it really is. It's
Absolutely.
relentless in the follow-up. All right. So that's what you do with Zillow and how you leverage the CRM. And you're putting every one of them on a drip email to wean them off of Zillow, correct? Especially if you get a hold of them.
Yeah, that's our main goal for a few reasons. One is because I don't want them clicking on other agents, right?
Sure.
But that's the main goal. I want to get them to stop using Zillow and to stop the potential of them clicking on 3, 4, 5 different agents and getting the incoming calls. But additionally, for us, it's great for us to see what the user activity is.
Yes.
Right? So if we know that the consumer is all of a sudden looking at homes between 8 and 8:30 in the morning, that's a great time for the agent to call, because we know that they're in the mindset. We know that they're available, and we know that we're probably going to be able to connect with them at that time. Without that data from Zillow, Zillow is not going to tell us exactly when the consumer is looking. We don't necessarily know when to follow up, but we also, based on that data, can understand what is the consumer looking at, right? So if they tell us that their budget is really up to, say, $1 million, and we're consistently sending stuff that's $900 to $1 million, but when we look in Real Geeks and see that the stuff that they're really looking at frequently is in the $500,000 to $600,000 range, then we know that realistically they're probably more comfortable spending $500,000 to $600,000 on the purchase, and we're going to change the strategy of what we're sending to them from MLS, or the properties that we're offering to show, to skew towards their comfort zone as opposed to what they told us.
Sure, that makes sense. All right, great. And then what about COI, past clients? Kind of the same, but not really. Because COI is your center of influence, people you may or may not have done business with, and then you got the past clients. Why don't we hit the database, the centers of influence? What do you do? What are you and your agents doing to work those? And how are you using the website and CRM?
Yep. So we're putting them in. I don't think all of it's. Those are still probably my 2 biggest areas of weakness in my business, and I think they were last year when we spoke as well. So
sure.
I've made some progress, but I still have a ton of room to improve upon, which is sad and amazing at the same time, because sad that I haven't done it, but amazing at the potential.
Yes.
Right? And so for those that are putting them in, we're hoping and teaching the agents to set up market reports, right? So that they can provide the information. We actually, a couple of months ago, we sent out this email. This was crazy. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm probably not, my people skills aren't insanely high. My I on my disc profile is negative, right?
But your D is 99 like mine.
No, it's 81. But
Oh, it's 81. Okay.
it's only 81.
I would think it was higher.
Hey, Lisa, if we could just put the database thing on hold real quick. I want to go back to one lead source we left out, and then we'll go back to database. Pay-per-click. We talked Zillow. We talked Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
The audience wants to know about pay-per-click. You said you do that too, right?
Yes, we do a lot of pay-per-click too.
Can you explain those conversion rates and what you spend cost per lead for the audience?
Yeah.
Then we'll get right back to database, everybody.
So pay-per-click is stuff through Google AdWords and driving the traffic from Google directly to our website. So we're doing both buyer and seller there as well, just like Facebook.
Sure.
Cost per lead is higher, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact cost per lead there off the top of my head. It is more expensive than Facebook and less expensive than Zillow. Kind of falls in the middle. In terms of what happens, we handle those very much the same as how we handle Facebook ads. So seller leads, like home valuation stuff, is still coming directly to me at this point in time. And the buyer stuff is still going directly to our ISAs. The time for conversion we're finding is similar to the cost. They're quicker than Facebook ads and slower than Zillow leads. So dead smack in the middle.
And what about the conversion rate? What's the conversion rate of those? I think you were 1.4 on Facebook. What is the?
It's almost even with Facebook, ironically. And I think that was my own fault. I think we had some issues with follow-up and understanding some of the scripts to get those pay-per-click ads to convert. And I personally failed on some of the follow-up on the seller side stuff. And I know it, and I saw it, and I've corrected it, and I'm seeing a change already. So I suspect if we had the same conversation in 6 months, that conversion would double.
It would double, probably around 3 to 3.5%, 4%.
That would be my hope. And based on what I'm seeing right now, I think that's probably pretty realistic. And like I said, the issue was me. The issue was me, myself, and I.
All right, cool. All right, we fix it. Hey, the good thing is you check all the numbers so you know how to adjust it and fix it, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, cool. So we were at the COI. Can we go back, Frank?
Yeah, back to database.
Okay, back to database. Well, that's what you call a pattern interrupt. So where were we?
Well, we were talking about you wanted to do a better job working your database past clients. You said your agent's database. Interesting.
Well, no, mine too, right? But I guess there's more of them than there are of me. They outnumber me. But so we had taken this one for everybody that's in there and their COI. We sent out this email. Hey, and it was a blast, right, through Real Geeks. Hey, it's been a long time. I'd love to meet up for a cup of coffee and just chat. And it was a great way for some of them to really connect with people. I had, out of all of mine, I had over 80 responses to have coffee. A, I can't drink that much coffee. B, I don't have that much time. And C, I don't know what I was thinking. That was the dumbest decision ever. So, but it was a great way to be able to leverage having all of this contact information into one place and make the connections, right? So that's one aspect of it. The second is kind of looking at the market reports to be able to send them information that's valuable. And it's the same thing, I think, when looking at your SOI or COI or any other kind of lead source. The way that you are in the business is by proving that you're an expert, right? Prove that you know what you're doing, prove that you know what you're talking about, and prove that you can add value to the consumer's experience when they get to that point. So if we're sending market reports and we're giving them data about the market, that instantly says, like, I don't know what we're talking about.
Sure. And then when you're doing that, are your agents, as they start doing this more, are they seeing more and more of the people using the home valuation tool that are getting the market reports and they're getting those emails? And then now they're going, they're actually putting in their address. They're getting automated home valuations and they're following up, I hope.
Yes, I think they are.
Let's hope they are.
I hope they are. We're starting to see, like I said, our agent SOI and even my own SOI was probably weaker than it could be for a business of my size. And so now that we're really kind of putting an emphasis on it, we are starting to see that we're converting a little bit more. Like I said, still a ton of room for me to be able to fix that and grow my business and add even more for everybody here. But definitely making progress.
Nice. All right. And then the past clients, what are you doing for the past clients after the close to follow up with them and keep them informed?
Yep. So pretty much similar. So we moved them into, we created in Real Geeks, we created an agent called Past Clients.
Uh-huh.
And so our transaction coordinator and our listing coordinator, once that past client closes, is changing the agent name from whoever the agent was to past client. And so we're dumping them in there. And then the transaction coordinator or the listing coordinator are scheduling follow-ups for the next 12 months, a combination of handwritten notes and phone calls and some automated emails that come. And so we're leveraging, using workflows in there for that. But then we can also keep and we're setting up market reports for whatever property they've just bought, right? So that we're keeping in touch with them, right, about their biggest asset, the biggest thing that they've bought.
So you are using the Real Geeks workflows and a few drip emails within Real Geeks for that, and then setting up the market reports to keep them and keep bringing something of value.
Correct.
All right, great. All right, and then I guess we can move on over to the farm with your postcards and your farming. I know that's a huge part of your business.
Yep.
So you're sending out to neighborhoods. Explain what you do in case somebody is like a newer real estate agent and they don't know what we're referring to as a farm. Are they growing produce? There may be some newer agents in here that do not know what farming is. Can you explain what you do with that? And then once somebody identifies themselves as a potential buyer or seller, then what happens and where you put them and what you do?
Yep. All right. So our farming is basically working within our communities by sending out postcards. That's my method, is EDDM postcards. And we tie it in with some social media branding as well. Brand recognition is big for my business and where I live. So we're tying it in so that they're seeing our message in a whole bunch of places, right? We want them to see our branding and our message in their mailbox. We want them to see our branding and our message on Facebook and Instagram. And we want them to see our branding as they're driving through town by seeing our signs hanging and seeing some of our involvement within the community. It would be, this was a weakness when we last spoke as well. I'm still not door knocking as much as I should be. And I'm going to blame the weather because it's New England and we've got like 18 inches of snow outside. So it's not my fault. It's the weather, right?
Yeah, it's the weather's fault.
It's the weather.
At least for another month.
Right. Yeah. And so we're mailing those out. So we mail postcards every 2 weeks. And when we send out the postcard, we're also changing our Facebook ad, which actually drives back to our property valuation tool on Real Geeks. Through Facebook that pushes back to the landing page on our website with the property valuation tool. So we can track, I think I consider those partly coming from my farm and partly coming from Facebook because I think it's a joint effort between the two pieces.
Sure, yeah, of course.
And so when that comes in, we treat that just like any other seller lead coming through Facebook, which is it comes to me, we work it, same follow-ups and all that stuff happens. If we get the phone call off of a postcard, we're having the conversation, right? We're having the conversation. We're gathering the information and then putting them into Real Geeks the same way that we would any other lead source, and doing things, setting them up on a drip campaign, setting them up on market reports, and scheduling the follow-up stuff. I think the biggest lesson for me has been that as I got busier, right, and I thought that I was staying on top of it, and this was my issue with some of the pay-per-click stuff, is I wasn't letting the system work enough for me. And it's easy to think that you can do it all and that it's easy to skip some steps by whatever. But letting the system work for us is the biggest thing that becomes a benefit and helps us grow it. So even with those phone calls coming in, was it really important for me to learn to be disciplined, to stop, enter all the information, and then it takes just 30 seconds and get it going and remember to follow up with it from there.
Nice. All right. So you're doing a lot of the same thing. You're using a lot of the same tools. You're keeping it simple, really.
Yes.
And trying to work every lead slightly different, but keeping them within the same funnel and trying to use the same technology to leverage. Absolutely. What I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because if it works, it's just understanding, I think, how to change some of the message that we're giving sometimes and how long we're going to have to really, really work it in order to get it to convert.
So, I mean, your mindset is amazing and incredible. And I know there's agents out there going, well, that just couldn't work for me, or she's got something special going on. I mean, what would you tell that person that maybe that could help them get a mind shift change. I know that we can't change everyone's mind, but that person that's kind of just saying, oh, well, you know, the Facebook leads don't work, or this doesn't work, or the PPC or the Zillow doesn't work. I mean, what would you say to that person that's got those negative thoughts? I know they probably need to start doing some affirmations and getting better thoughts going in their minds. But besides that,
well, I think it's important to remember that even I get negative sometimes,
sure.
right? This past weekend, I had like one of those days, and I was like, I felt lost for a couple of hours, and it was huge for me just to step back and say, okay, get back to the basics, right? How do you do the basics? And for me, it was remembering to get myself back to organized. You guys can't really appreciate it, but my desk is usually a hot mess with the papers overflowing, right? And my desk looks a lot like my brain sometimes. And so being able to get myself back into a positive thought, and then being able to keep it simple is really the biggest thing. And remembering that you can't start by doing everything all at once, and it's chunking it down. And I think it's easy to look at and listen to all of what I do right now and think that you have to do it all. But I think if you can start with one thing and learn how to kill it, right? Start with one thing, learn how to kill it, and then add in the next piece. And it just kind of keeps growing and snowballing from there. So just like I said, you know, I was having some issues with my pay-per-click stuff, and I've assessed my problem and fixed it. And instead of moving on and trying to solve my COI issue at the same time, I'm going to fix my pay-per-click issue. Start thinking about how I'm going to deal with my COI issue and get my pay-per-click where I want it. Then I'm going to tackle COI and breaking it down and chunking it down, and just remembering that it doesn't happen overnight, and that it's all doable. And to ask, right? Everybody I know is really an open book, and I know I can pick up the phone and call any one of like 100 different people and ask a question, and then I'm going to answer.
And what about what would you say to the person that gives up too easily? They try it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and declare it doesn't work. I mean, what would you say to that person, like to help get over that hump of like giving up too easily?
You can't. And it's, I think we spoke about this in August too. It's remembering that, you know, understanding so many different variables about each of these lead sources, right? Like understanding that the average ad isn't going to convert for 12 months. That's like the short time, right? And so to give up on a Facebook ad because you didn't convert anything in 6 weeks is foolish and a waste of money, right? But if you can stick with it and be positive in what you're doing and be confident in what you're doing, but then understand that, you know, things like farming with mailings, it could be 6 months before you get the first phone call, but then it snowballs, right? And that's the thing. I think once it gets going and once you figure out how to make it work, it becomes so scalable, but not giving up before you give it the chance to become.
Yeah, I would agree on that. And one thing I want to add to that is, though, when you are calling those Facebook leads, you can't have the mindset that they're all going to be 12 months, because then when they start getting you a little bit of resistance and pushback, now in your mind, subconscious, you're going, then they give up too easily and don't push hard enough, because there are leads in there that are ready now and today. So you have to have that mindset and treat everybody special. Like that person is that's going to do something today. Yes. But don't get disappointed when they're not.
Yes. No, exactly. And for us, and like for my team, and even for me, like you'll still see that my team role plays 3 days a week, right? And I still role play 3 days a week. And I don't always role play on the same scripts that my agents are using. Mm-hmm. But role playing is so huge, and to be able to understand, you know, how can you overcome the objections and practice it enough to be confident in it, and know that, you know, even when you're good, you can always be better, and that we always are continuing to learn and finesse and change, and, you know.
Well, I couldn't agree anymore, because if you're role playing, you don't have to think when you're actually talking to a customer. You don't have to think about what you're going to say next. You already know all the things that you could say, and you can actually really listen and focus in on them. If you could really focus and listen with them, you're going to pick up on the indicators that they're giving you, that you'll be able to shift and go somewhere else and really be able to help them. But you can't help them if you're thinking about yourself and being selfish about what you're going to say next.
Right. And confidence, right? Like it comes off in your tone and your speech patterns. And I think people pick up on it more than we give them credit for when you're on the other end of the phone. If you come off like that, right? And you don't even have to think about it. Oh, I was just looking, and you instantly know what to say and you've got a response to it, as opposed to, oh, okay, thank you, and hanging up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're just looking. All right. Use the website, buy, and run off with like a dog with your tail between your legs. It's just that's not sales. What about like affirmations? Do you do any kind of affirmations or anything like that?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. All right. Positive ones, right?
Yeah. No, it's huge. And it's, we always start Wednesday mornings for the team. So Monday mornings we have what we call Market Stat Mondays, and it's a 5-minute call with Jason, our sales manager. But it's talking about the positive stuff that's kind of going on in the market, giving the agents some great stats that they can use to build urgency and create value for consumers. But the last minute is always a really great affirmation, right? Why is today going to be a great day? Why are we going to kill it? And why is real estate what we choose to do? And then Wednesday mornings are just all about the positive affirmations and understanding that, how you start your day is how you end your day, right? Huge.
And just so any of you know, like an affirmation is not like I want to, I'm going to. An affirmation is I am. You're telling your
amazing salesperson.
I'm an amazing salesperson. I set 5 appointments every day. I go on 3 listing appointments every day, or I take 1 listing every day. Like you got to be doing it like it's happening, because you're telling your subconscious mind it's already happening. You will start gravitating. I've done affirmations for years, and every one of my affirmations I've actually achieved. I need to step up some bigger ones, I guess. But they do work. But it's just working on yourself. It's better than the negative talk that we get into.
Absolutely.
All right,
Frank. I got a question for you. I got a little reverb. Turn your speakers down just a little bit, Lisa, because it's picking up through your mic just a little bit. I want to talk about the money. When you started, you were a solo agent in 2015.
Yep.
And you did 82 deals right away.
2016.
Well, in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get those 82 deals? Is that predominantly prospecting, outbound cold calling? Because you have no cold calling now. It's all inbound for you, for the most part.
Yeah,
right?
for the most part. Yeah.
I want to talk about how you financed your way into affording all this.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about how you got your business in that first year.
So the first year was my biggest investment was Zillow up front, right? So $500 a month, the first with a 6-month contract, which was a lot of money to somebody who, I think 2015 I earned like $30,000, right? So to sign a contract for $3,000, which was 10% of my earnings, was pretty big. But I'm a laser focused kind of person and pretty disciplined with everything that I do with respect to my business, not personally. But I just reinvest, right? So if I had a closing, I could take 50% of that and reinvest it, because I know once I figure out how to make something work, it becomes scalable. And if I reinvest and I have that result with say 10 Zillow leads, can I have the same percentage of results with 20 Zillow leads?
See, this is huge. We have to talk about this. How were you so confident to take 50% of your commission and spend it on something so risky at the very beginning of your business? That's a very rare thing. Can you give the audience some insight on that?
I guess all I can say is that I believed in myself. And I knew that if I was making the investment in myself and my business, that I wasn't going to squander it, right? I wasn't going to let it go to waste. And I knew that I would figure out how to make it work. But I also, like I said, it's just understanding, I think, that it becomes scalable. And if I can have those results, I can replicate those results. And it does require discipline. It definitely required making some sacrifices early on, but I also knew that it would pay off in the end, right? And that the only way to grow a business that wasn't going to be, to actually grow a business was to keep reinvesting and keep.
So what did you do? You had $500 a month in Zillow. I mean, you got to 86 deals. What did you reinvest it to get 86 deals so quickly, 50% of your commission?
Yeah, I'd have to look back and see. I think, I don't think in 2016 that I ever crossed I don't think I ever went above like $2,000 a month for Zillow. And that was like by the end of 2016, right? I'd have to really look back to see, but right now it's substantially more,
Yeah.
like I said, because I know it's scalable and I can, my issue right now is a people issue, right? Finding people to work with me on my team, recruiting, and, you know, finding the people who share my dedication and share my passion, which is not everybody, obviously, right?
It's just a question I think a lot of people wonder is, you know, you have this budget in such a short period of time to spend money on marketing to generate these leads.
Yep.
And a lot of it goes back to your mindset in the very beginning is when you had no money, you spent the 500. And then when you got the commission, you put 50% of it reinvested in marketing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
There's the
Because it was
lesson.
worth it. I knew that if I could reinvest it early on, it would pay off much greater down the road.
All right, great. So now I know one thing that we didn't do yet is the postcards, because I know everyone's going to say, what kind of postcards is she sending out? What kind of postcards do you send out through your farm? Are they your listings or market report type postcards? What are you sending?
So none of those, ironically. I don't send like just listed postcards. I don't send just sold. I try to do something with some sort of value or something that's just kind of catchy graphic wise, with really consistent branding on the back. Like I said, for me, it's really off of a brand recognition, and we do it on a quarterly cycle. So each quarter it starts with, you know, why to sell during the season, why us, one that's like a proof of success into the quarter, and then just some other fluff stuff that, you know, kind of makes people chuckle or something. Like you'll see we have one that has like a goldfish jumping from one fishbowl to another. It's just silly, funny stuff, but the branding on the back is really what we're looking at, and the call to action on the back. So we actually, my team and I just moved brokerages a couple weeks ago, so I had actually ditched everything that was branded with my old company. So like this was our newest one. Can you see it?
We've moved.
We've moved, right? And it was nothing fancy. And the backside just had a picture of our new building and a picture of the team on it. But this postcard just went out 2 days ago, and I've gotten 5 calls from the first town that it was mailed to. That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Let me see the back. There we go.
Frank, we can't see it because
I can see it.
Your big head is in my screen.
The audience can see it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And that's actually wordier than I like. Normally, I don't have that much text on the back, but that was because we moved, so it wasn't as big a call to action, and I don't have any of the other ones. But I know I've sent out a whole bunch through Facebook and to other people, you know, over time.
All right, amazing. I'm just so happy that you were able to come back on and share. Frank, do you have any questions there, or because we probably got like 8 minutes left?
Yeah, the market reports. Who creates those?
They're automated. That's the best part. We don't have to do anything. We just log on to Real Geeks, click some buttons, set it up, and set it and forget it.
That's nice. You talked about the pay-per-click leads. Feel free to chime in here, guys. I'm going through your questions for anything that's relevant. I'm scrolling through them all. You do not cold call FSBOs and expireds making moves.
I don't.
Okay.
I know.
Well, they're just wondering if you do. You have a different sources of business, which is just fine. Right? Let's see here. Lots of good questions. We covered your cost per lead on Zillow. Oh, let's talk about your ISA. This is way back in the very beginning. Would you talk about maybe some tips for how you hired your ISA, compensation? People really want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give someone like, I need an ISA. What would you tell them? Where do they go? Where do they start?
So our best hire, actually, so we have a local university by us, and so when we were hiring, coming into the fall, we actually created an ad, knowing with everything I do in my business, I start backwards, right? So what am I looking for in the personality type of this person that I hire? Well, I want somebody who likes to talk, who's super personable, who doesn't care about getting hung up on, and is okay with hearing no, right? So college kids are ideal. They talk all day, they text all day, they're not afraid of videos, right? They're super fun. So we created this ad, do you like to talk, do you like to text, and do you want a little bit of money on a flexible schedule? And so we created this ad, and then we dropped a pin on our local university, and just ran the ad for a week around the university and had a whole bunch of people respond to the ad and found a great ISA. So we pay minimum wage, which in Massachusetts is $12 an hour. And that's because I want to make sure that the ISA is incented to really qualify the leads and make sure that they're actually hitting the touches. So the bigger part of the compensation comes from a bonus on completed appointments with qualified candidates. And that was the important part that I learned when I just made it a bonus on a completed appointment. The quality of the qualifications up front was poor. We weren't getting buyers who were fully pre-qualified and actually able to buy. So once we changed that to make sure that, and that's why I said early on that we really wanted to make sure that the ISA was working to get the buyer pre-approved. So then the ISA gets a bonus for a completed appointment with a qualified lead, and then they get a bonus when the lead goes to closing.
Your postcards. Where would someone go if they want to start doing EDDM and want to investigate mailing a farm? I'm curious, how many neighbor? This is now. No one's going to start here, but how many homeowners do you mail twice a month?
40,000 each mailing cycle, so 80,000 postcards a month.
So there's 40,000 homeowners getting 2 postcards a month.
They sure are. Yep.
But when you started, how big was your farm?
About 1,000 to 1,500. It was significantly smaller.
So let's start there. Let's say someone picks a 1,500 farm of homes.
Mm-hmm.
They mail twice a month.
Yep.
Where would they go, and maybe how much would that cost? Would you expect?
Somebody asked me that earlier today, and I think at that point, I think my cost per mailing was somewhere around 50 cents between print and postage. And for me, I'm in a very suburban area, so some of the stats that you hear don't always apply. So what I really just looked for was an area of town where I was comfortable, right? So the stat would be that you're looking for a neighborhood where the turnover is expected to be 6%, but I don't have that where I am due to low inventory and then due to the fact that I'm a very suburban town. So I just picked the area of town that I was really comfortable with, where I knew I could hit 1,500 homeowners. And I didn't finesse out busy streets versus neighborhoods. I just picked mail routes and said, I like this part of town. This is where I'm going. And just, again, once I had one success, once I got the first listing, it was easy to take the commission from that and reinvest it in.
So here's another question. The whole title of this interview is how you're going to do 5 million from 2 million. Okay.
Yes.
So you got 3 minutes.
Yep.
Why don't you explain to the audience, what does someone have to do to grow that much so quickly? What are you going to scale up to do that? I want to hear your direct answer on that.
I think it's all scalable, and it's being able to turn the faucet on and off at the appropriate times. And the faucet comes in terms of lead gen, but it also comes in terms of my recruiting and my ability to keep my value proposition with both my consumers and my agents, right? So I need to be able to deliver a high quality product that my agents want to believe in and join me, a high quality product to my consumers so that they're going to want to use me and my team, and then also understand how do I turn on and off lead gen so that if I have 20 agents, I have enough leads for 20 agents. But if for some reason I drop to 18 agents, I'm not overspending on leads and wasting the money on leads that I'm not going to be able to touch adequately.
So how many agents do you have now?
I think we're at 15, if I'm 15.
And then how do you know we need to add another agent?
I can always add another agent because it's so scalable and it's a faucet. So for me, it's not about can I add another agent? It's when am I going to find the right talent to add to my agent team, right? When am I going to find the right talent? And it may not be talent that I find as an agent, but when I find talent, I know I can make a spot for them and grow them into an amazing professional. But the moment talent comes across, I'm ready. I could hire 10 more agents tomorrow if they're the right people and get them into. So here's my favorite story. So I went to a listing appointment, right? And it was this gentleman, and he had a son, 20-year-old kid, Shane. And Shane is super charismatic, didn't love what he was doing in college, and had this great personality. And I came back for a second listing appointment, and the father said to me, Shane really wants to chat with you. Can you give me 5 minutes? And I said, absolutely. So I chatted with Shane. He's like, Lisa, I want to sell. I want to work with you, and I want to sell. Great. So we hired him. He was with us for 30 days while he was taking his licensing classes and working on scripts, working on tools. He's been licensed for 3 weeks, and the kid has 6 signed buyer agency contracts and 1 home under agreement in 3 weeks. So it's finding that right talent. Crazy, right? That's amazing.
It's amazing.
All right,
All
Jeff,
right.
wrap it up.
All right, so we got to wrap it up. I want to thank Lisa again for coming on and sharing. She's so incredible, so amazing. We're so blessed to have her on here. And wanted to let the audience know that we're doing these every 3 weeks for at least 10 in a row, and then we'll see where we go from there. And I also hired a new full-time videographer. So he's starting in April. So we're going to start doing some on locations as well in between. So get ready for a lot of content. All right, thanks a lot.